I would introduce you a little bit. So this is the format of the presentation, to talk a little bit about the MDG and SDG processes that are taking place. That is the Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainable Development Goals that right now the world is discussing. We'll talk a little bit about how that exercise is taking place and some of the key goals, targets that have already been discussed. Then I will give you a bit of a synthesis on what lots of the proposals are saying should be the energy directives for the post-2015 development agenda. The current MDG debate was actually, the goals were developed in a bit of a political vacuum. There was very little dialogue. There was a series of conferences where high-level people came together and they decided that these would be the goals. And the goals took very much from a human development paradigm. So they looked very much at poverty, and so economic and social issues related to poverty. Environment was kind of stuck in, but really the focus was much more on the socio-economic aspects. And also it was only aimed at developing countries, with the main source of financing support from other countries coming through overseas development assistance. Now, what the world is saying will be different, or the world is trying to do differently this time, is that they've actually done a process where there has been a huge amount of consultation that has happened around the world. The consultation started in 2012, and they will go actually till September 2014. And they've done different interventions in different countries, different forums to get stakeholder inputs. The goals and targets are still very much focused on poverty eradication, but they are seeing that poverty eradication itself, without addressing things like equity, human rights, sustainable development, is really not going to get us where we want to get to. So there is much more dialogue about these issues in the current debates. And also they aim to have an universal goal. So they are not talking only about developing countries, they are talking about the entire world, and they're talking about goals that work in different ways for different countries. Last time it was the same target, same goals, countries just had to increase a particular percentage. This time they're trying to call them universal but differentiated goals, which means that countries also then have a little bit of flexibility to decide what levels they would like to go to. But the goals are targeted at developing, middle income, everybody. And also the types of financing are looking much more at combining overseas development assistance with domestic development assistance, domestic resources, as well as much more creative partnerships. The previous one actually stuck very much in the development sector among traditional development practitioners, and this one is trying to open it out much more to private sector, to a greater variety of public and civil society institutions. So that is how the new debates are kind of set in the larger thinking about how the goals should look. And the process of developing new goals is actually happening in a parallel system. There are two processes that are taking place. The process one is coming very much from the Millennium Development Goals summits. So once they put the MDGs into place, they had reviews over time. And the one in 2010 requested that the UN actually initiate a process on what the next development goals should look like beyond 2015. And in 2012, the Rio Plus 20, which is the big Sustainable Development Conference, took place. And at that conference, they initiated a process to develop what they wanted as Sustainable Development Goals. So both done by the UN, but both decided that they must have goals beyond 2015. And two processes are taking place simultaneously. What both these things, the synergies we are seeing, is in the document that was published called Realizing the Future We Want for All. This document actually was started through the Rio Plus 20 process, but it incorporates lots of the thinking that the MDG processes had already had started to address. The big report that's coming out from the MDG process is what is called the high-level panel report. It's referred to as HLP, which is the task force that was set up to collate this information from various sources and come up with a set of goals. This document is published and now it's actually out for debate. I'll tell you a little bit more about the goals that they're proposing. This came out in May 2013, and it really was quite as wide stakeholder consultation, and this comes from like synergizing the conversations. On the SDG process, they set up what is called this open working group. And this open working group was given a huge range of topics, actually about 26 major topics to talk about. And each topic was supposed to bring you a set of recommendations. And these recommendations were then also deliberated by what they call major groups, which are different stakeholders: private sector, civil society, women, children, different groups like that were also then told to comment on whether their needs are being addressed by the recommendation made by the open working groups. This report will actually be out in September 2014 and will be presented in the UN General Assembly. The next really two crucial events that are lined up, one is going to be in September 2014, which will be when the government negotiations actually start. So the 69th UN General Assembly is going to be pretty important, because this is where the MDGs and the SDGs will both present, saying this is what we are proposing, and then the governments have to start thinking about, okay, what are the goals that we want, and the negotiations take place. And the final framework is scheduled to be launched in the 70th UNGA, which will take place a year later. So the governments have a year to debate. So right now is a very crucial time, because there has been really a lot of debate and a lot of literature, information out there about the different goals. And now it's time actually for countries to decide, what does this mean for us? And what does it mean when Sri Lanka goes to these forums and decides these are the things that we are going to agree to, or these are the things that make sense to us? So we are interested in this topic from actually two levels, in terms of trying to see if we can generate a dialogue so that people here are more aware that this process is happening and what this process might mean to us, and also to try and see how these global dialogues, global goals and indicators can be practically implemented in a country like Sri Lanka. So that is the intention also, that we wanted to do this event together with Energy Forum, because Energy Forum is looking at it much more from a Sri Lankan pragmatic, how do we put in sustainable goals, and it is good to reflect on what the international community is also saying is probably going to be the framework within which we would need to operate. Okay, so the proposed MDGs, they have what they call 5 big transformative shifts. They believe this is what is going to make it different from the ones before. They have a concept that it should leave no one behind. That the previous one, actually, although it reduced poverty, there was also a lot of criticism that it really didn't address absolute poverty, that it didn't address issues of inequity, inequalities. So this time the larger frame says that no one should be left behind. They have agreed that the environment goals, the environment sector was neglected in the previous one, and that they no longer can do that, and that the goals should be one that is about sustainable development, that is about merging the economic, social, socio-political and the environmental goals together. They talk about transformative economies, they talk about more innovative jobs, inclusive growth, again talking more from an equity point of view rather than a growth for growth's sake point of view. They also bring in issues of peace, effective, open, accountable governance, because that is basically an enabling environment that is needed for ensuring that other sorts of development can take place. And they believe that partnerships much more diverse, innovative partnerships are necessary to make this work. Partnerships, again, was one of the ones that didn't do too well in the previous MDGs. So there are lots more creative thinking on how there could be more beneficial partnerships. These are what the goals look like. I hope you can read it. I'm sorry they're quite small, but the diagram should also give you some indication of what they're looking at. So the poverty goals, there is a empower women goal, education, health, different issues. So at the moment there are 12 in place, and securing sustainable energy is one of the proposed goals that the high-level panel is proposing as goals. So this is what is out there now, and this is one of the 12 issues. These are the issues that will actually be deliberated from now till September 2014. Parallelly, like I said, the Sustainable Development Goals are also trying to come up with their own set of goals. The guiding principle behind these, they have taken a different view. They come at it from the point that it should be related, correlated to other types of conventions, other agendas that have already been put in place. So they are not saying that this should supersede it. So they are also intending this to be something that will be proposed into the MDG so that the world can have one goal. And so they ask for consistencies with international law, build upon commitments already made. They're coming at this very much from climate change, biodiversity perspectives. Other summits, already people have made commitments, actually more mandatory commitments than this one. So they're saying that that thinking should also be part of how the goals are developed. And it should be coherent and not divert from what the MDGs are proposing. This is very unwieldy, but unfortunately the SDGs have gone at it from 26 different themes. Themes that address issues like forests, oceans, seas, so much, much more from an environmental perspective, and coming at nearly everyone with that sustainable platform. So if you read through the outcome documents, you will see that everything is trying to address the 3 pillars of sustainability. I have highlighted in red the 3 that are coming out, which has a relevance to the energy sector. There is one goal on energy. There is one on climate, but the climate one also focuses a lot on energy issues. And the SDGs is having a much larger conversation about transport, which the MDGs is not. Okay, in terms of energy goals. So what we did was we looked at some of the main reports that are proposing different solutions. The high-level panel report, the SDG report, which I've already talked about. There's another one led by Jeffrey Sachs, which is called the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. And they have proposed Sustainable Development Goals, the Global Compact, which is also a UN private sector initiative, have proposed goals that they believe are more suited to the private sector. The Energy for All actually set up their goals in 2012, because this is the decade of Energy for All. And there's also the UNNGLS is a non-governmental, so this was a consultative process within the civil society. What you will see is that in all of these there's a common trend when it comes to energy. Sustainable energy is included in all, and they are all proposing that this should be one of the goals. Some have linked it to climate change. Some are seeing climate change, while the high-level panel actually thinks that climate change should be something done only by the UNFCCC networks. Others are saying that energy and climate should actually be a common goal. There is also a separate goal on urban resilience, urban planning, and the urban planning one is where transport actually gets at least a little bit of more targeted language, while as in the general energy goals is really not getting that much airplay. Some common targets that all of these are saying should happen is universal access to modern energy. There's an emphasis on women and children, and that, of course, no one should be left behind. And even though there is maybe a fossil fuel crunch, that you cannot deny poor people of access to good energy. There is wide call for better energy efficiency in all sorts of things: power generation, planning, production, transport systems, etc. And they're also asking that obviously you can't shift completely to renewables, but there has to be like a transition phase, but that there should be targets set that say we are going to increase renewables. The high level panel actually says we should double renewables, and lots of the others actually support that case. The Energy for All also says that we should double renewable energy in our energy mix. So those are some of the common targets that are there. These are some of the other issues, the recommendations that the reports make. We should think of a strategy that phases out inefficient fuel subsidies. We should take into account external costs of fossil fuels in pricing, so that then there is more motivation to think of alternative options. In the transition phase, they're talking about cleaner fossil fuel technologies, affordable technologies, in the phase before they intend to switch to cleaner renewable sources. They say include incentives for energy efficiency and remove disincentives that reduce energy efficiency. And also to promote indigenous systems, local R&D, not only wait for technology and equipment to be transferred from other places. The STNS actually specifically talks about low carbon, low emission systems and new low carbon technologies. They talk about this concept of decarbonizing, which is trying to reduce greenhouse gases in any type of production system that is done. They also introduced this idea of decoupling growth and energy use, which is really talking about better use of energy, that growth indicators, economic growth indicators, and energy indicators should be separate, and energy indicators should be built on better resource management, energy efficiency, issues like that. And for transport, of course, is not coming at it from a fuel source perspective, but from a more planning, management perspective. But also it's trying to bring in cleaner fuels and better transport systems. These are some of the suggestions that are coming out of these panels. Okay, and other goals that within this language impact energy. There's a lot of talk about shifting to green economies, and green economies is all about energy efficient processes, different energy systems, actually changing systems of production. They're talking about consumption and production targets, and these kinds of things are actually also being seen as private sector as some options that they would be willing to consider. Even from a natural resource management angle, if you're trying to talk about biodiversity, land management, there is an energy implication there, and also for agriculture systems. So these are some of the other related goals. These don't specifically talk about energy in any of them, but there is an implication about how sustainable energy goals should be derived if these things also take place, especially things like green economies and better urban planning. And of course, energy is multifaceted, and it will affect water sanitation, health, agriculture, all the other goals that the Millennium Development Goals are actually trying to put into place. The larger global implementation mechanisms for making this possible look at three big things. One is technology. Technology is seen as the way forward. Technology is going to give us all our solutions. They are very focused on technology transfer, which is something that is being debated by the South, saying, is that really it, or should we have things that also develop our own technologies, that develop our own R&D? Financing, there is a big shift from giving ODA. ODA is going to be much more for least developed countries. So countries like Sri Lanka really need to think about how do you mobilize domestic resources if these kinds of things are put into place post-2015. And one of the other ways of mobilizing resources is seen as very strategic partnerships. The enabling environment, two things that are being stressed is that the infrastructure needs to be developed. So if energy options need to be changed, then the right infrastructure also have to be there. And of course that government support these kinds of interventions. Okay, that is it from me. So that is in a nutshell what the process is talking about. And why it's important to us is that at a global level they're setting up, implementation strategies that work at a particular level. So I hope that today we are able to see whether we can work towards these goals and what would it take for Sri Lanka to actually practically implement some of these options that are being talked about. Thank you.